You're
Yeah.
an ignoramus.
I want to look on that scale that they used to use, like, you know, you take a test at school, and then like the school psychologist calls the parents in, and they're like, Mr. and Mrs. Binglefuck, we've determined that your child is technically a moron or an idiot.
It is quantifiable, but there is a cure. The last part was a joke.
The only cure I know is, you know, air quotes, cure is all I'm thinking about now is Forrest Gump's principle, you know,
Yikes.
fixing that problem.
That's a different kind of cure.
That's no cure.
Yeah, don't do that. Just use royal jelly.
Yeah, because that just fixes everything.
Most things.
Yeah,
Fix a crack in my foundation with that shit.
makes a top-notch engine coolant,
Oh,
cures
yeah.
cancer, builds your blood.
Builds your blood, yeah. Improves your immune response.
But I can never remember on that scale what was what anymore. But there's like idiot and moron, and I think ignoramus is on there. I don't remember if that sounds familiar anyway. Maybe it's not on there, but I think it is.
The best part is it sounds like the way the scale worked is it was skewed towards the lower end. Like there were like 5 things that meant that you're an idiot, and then average, and then smart. Like that's the image I'm conjuring up in my brain of what this thing looked like.
Well, like on the other end,
Might as well be dead.
The only one I know on the positive side is genius. And I don't know if there's like a whole bunch of synonyms that sort of hover around the genius area, but
You only got genius if you didn't masturbate.
Yeah, well,
I'm just throwing that out there because I'm thinking of it seems like the perfect nexus of oldie-timey like psychological evaluations plus a good old dash of American morality.
I wonder if that's what people thought. Like, is that what your school counselor thought if you came back as a moron, or imbecile was another one?
Imbecile, yeah.
Like they just thought you were just like whenever you were alone, just wailing away in a corner until you just became completely retarded.
Well, he did get a perfect score on all of his math batteries, but we found out he was a chronic masturbator, so we classified him as imbecile. He shoplifted a candy bar, so he's an ignoramus.
I would actually like to invent a new scale, you know, sort of maybe an Onion article-esque kind of thing where, and maybe even as a joke present it to some parents just to see what they think. Like, the new scale is like, you know, normal, whatever, typical, whatever you want to use. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you literal douches out there will correct me, and you know, it's not typical or it's not normal. The proper use or fuck off.
I'm enough of a statistician that I'm going to go ahead and jump in and say, we mean statistically normal, assholes. Shut up.
Yeah. So there's the normal, middle, and then, you know, present, like a focus group kind of thing. Present, like, the lower end is like, you know, dipshit, dumbass, stupid asshole, etc. And, you know, just see what their reaction is. And, of course, like, you know, plot all of their children down in that area. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see, the reaction that they give. But, you know, I don't know if that experiment would be entirely ethical. Fortunately, we don't really care.
If it were false results, you could probably get away with it.
Yeah. So,
like if you just mislabeled actual results, that would be like it'd probably be best. You may not want me to go into this much detail, but it'd probably the way to do it is you would like randomly generate results.
Yeah, well that's fine and dandy, but if it takes away from the fucking with people, I don't know. You know, I'm starting to lose my enthusiasm.
That's what I do. Killing enthusiasm. Break that shit down. That's why, if you can help it, don't go in front of your internal review board at school when you're doing a study. Don't ask, just fucking do it.
So if anybody has any suggestions for this scale, I'd like to hear them. Write in, you know, other than dumbass, dipshit. Perhaps fuckwad.
Fuckwad.
We've determined that 7-year-old Johnny's a fuckwad.
Well, now that's always introducing. There's an intellectual scale and like a behavioral scale.
Well, I mean, for the purposes of this gag, I'm sure most parents wouldn't even know anyway. Like if they're
that's
even
true.
still in the room by this point, I don't think we have to be that precise.
Fair enough.
Like when Dick Clark and Ed McMahon were doing like bloopers and practical jokes, I'm pretty sure they didn't like consider every detail like to this like magnitude. I'm sure they're like, yeah, lock him in a room with an orangutan and let's see what happens.
It was a simpler time. A simpler time. They're lucky that shit never backfired.
Well, I don't know. I think you can get away with a lot more in the pre-internet age, and now there's like sort of everybody's watching you all the time, and
Yeah.
so
You at least had a buffer zone where you could like leave the country.
and that's why I don't lock people in rooms with monkeys or whatever.
Well, not anymore.
It's just it's liability and like the insurance concerns and oh my god, all the
The mess.
lawsuits. Yeah, just holy shit. So yeah, it's a brave new world, people.
Oh, fuck.
So
Very much indeed.
this brings me to another point, which is, in case you were all wondering out there, the show will be somewhere between 1 and 2 hours every time.
Yeah, we just went over the hour mark a few minutes ago.
Episode 1 was like an hour and 40, and episode 2 was an hour and 15. So basically, whenever we feel like ending, or we're tired, or we want to, get a drink, or we just feel like playing video games instead, or any of those reasons.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we haven't decided quite yet how much structure we want to provide our listeners with in terms of what to expect from us. We're still trying to have fun with that, so.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of structure. Like a little, like what I call structure is the show will be somewhere between 1 and 2 hours every time. That's structure for me, anyway.
And however else we organize that time, yeah, you never know.
So we're past the hour mark now, so the show could end literally at any second.
So brace yourselves.
Yeah, hold on to something tight, preferably another attractive human being.
But hold on to something tight or hold tightly onto something.
I'm gonna leave some wiggle room in there.
It's a lot of euphemism floating around here.
That's an odd circumstance for Bad Guy Labs.
That is a very odd circumstance. Where was my brain going? Oh, well, my brain actually went to one of the places that it usually goes, which is tits.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about tits.
Actually, watched a documentary about them yesterday. It seemed to be, and that's the thing is I can't remember the title of the documentary because like the cover was just like 2 milk jugs, and so all I can think of is that it was called Jugs, but it totally wasn't called Jugs.
It wasn't called The Art of the Topless by any chance, was it?
No.
Because that's fucking awesome. You should totally see that.
What is it? Yeah, tell me about this. I've never heard of it.
Oh, it's just like it's this old. Like I'm gonna use the word documentary, air quotes. I don't know what you call it. It's not a movie. It's basically just this guy, the guy that produced / directed the whatever this is called, and
The film.
it's a film. Yeah, it's from the '60s, and there's like lots of go-go music and stuff like that playing, and it's just like topless women in like bikini bottoms or panties, sort of in these weird positions, like in locations, like out in like just nature a lot, and like in these poses and dancing around a lot and shaking their goods, and it's fun to watch, and it's sort of hilarious because the intensity of the guy doing it. He also narrates,
Oh.
and
Wait, how long is this? Like, is there any form at all to it?
it's like film length, like
Wow. Like feature length kind of thing?
I guess, yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but basically he's really excited about what he calls the art of the topless.
Okay.
Like he believes it's an actual art, and who are we to say it's not? And
all right, fair enough.
And he's just like he's building it up at the beginning, building it up. Go-go music is playing, girls are gyrating, and then he goes, and this is a famous line, it's one of those things, like, you need to see it just so you know what other people are talking about. He goes, but enough of this palaver! Let's get this show on the road!
So he's a carnival barker, basically.
It's one of the most awesome lines I've ever heard, in one of the most awesome contexts I've ever seen.
Nice. Is there any sort of narrative at all?
No, not really. It's just sort of...
Not that it's necessary, I was just curious.
It's all about just the art of the topless. And apparently that was good enough. So, and it was a simpler time too, Like if you wanted to watch something like that, like when
the breasts had fewer moving parts.
They weren't bionic.
Exactly.
But yeah, if you wanted to watch something like that, like nowadays, like, all you have to do is like open up a laptop and go turn yourself into an imbecile. But
so to speak.
That's probably going to be a recurring callback.
Yeah, why not?
But back in those days, like, if you were lucky, VCRs had been invented. And if not, like, you had to figure out, like, you had to find a fucking projector and, like, time to, like, get all this shit together. And that's the time this was in. It was a simpler time. Well,
you had to find a good pair of binoculars.
Like George McFly.
There you go, yeah.
Oh, don't get me started on all the weird shit from that movie. Maybe we'll save that for another time.
All right, we'll put Back to the Future on a shelf.
But it was a simpler time with, you had to be a rugged individualist if you wanted to, watch anything with titties in it. But I digress. So you weren't watching The Art of the Topless, but what were you watching?
That's what I said. I can't remember.
You can't remember what?
There were just jugs on the cover, and so that's all I can remember.
Oh, okay. Like you saw it or you watched it? Like you saw the cover? Like you saw the box?
It.
Oh, you watched it. Okay.
Well, because it came up like on Netflix or something.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. Like Netflix. I noticed Netflix is putting up a lot of. I think they're cool. Like these older movies from like the 70s and 80s that are sort of. They're just like a sexual adventure romp with young people. Like.
Oh yeah.
Usually lower production value.
Oh yeah, I totally watched one of those the other day too. Again, it's another thing that I didn't think I was going to be talking about this anytime soon, so I didn't commit much to memory. But it was like an early 70s, late 60s French vampire movie. Mm-hmm. It was fucking terrible. But there were just, topless ladies everywhere, which, mitigates the sheer terror I felt at the quality of the filmmaking. But, but yeah.
So was there any sort of like plot to this thing you saw? Anything at all?
Sort of. It didn't really make sense. Like it was like at first it seemed like they were like vampires were trolling the French countryside, looking for like humans to kidnap and maybe eat, maybe turn into vampires. Like the plot sort of falls apart after the girls get kidnapped.
Now, is this the thing you were talking about with the jugs?
No, this is the French.
Well, what about the jugs one? Like, what was that?
Oh, that was more so about like the American cultural fascination with breasts.
Oh, okay.
And like I guess that's a decent thing to explore, but it sort of reminds me of all the like porn documentaries that seem to have come out in the past like 10 to 15 years, as it's like, why are Americans fascinated with porn? We're going to explore this in the documentary. And nobody ever solves the mystery or the riddle. It's something that's mystified in our culture, therefore we're intrigued by it. Like I'm assuming as the anthropologist in this Tits documentary or Jugs documentary talked about, in cultures where there's no mystique surrounding breasts, people aren't as interested in them.
Yeah, I guess it's the old ankles like on Puritan women sort of point.
Yeah,
people bring up like they never showed their ankles, so you'd come in your pants if you went to like an ankle bar.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's just my attitude towards all these documentaries, and I watch them compulsively. Because I'm always like, maybe somebody will finally say something insightful, and they never do. because I always answer the question as soon as the documentary comes on. Why are Americans fascinated by breasts? And it's like, I don't know, because I wasn't allowed to see them my whole life, and they just seem neat. So, QED, bitches. Like,
asking the question, why are Americans so fascinated with porn? Like, that to me sounds like a retarded question. Like, that's like asking, why are teenage boys fascinated with their dicks? Like, do you have to ask the question, and then do you have to, like, find some sort of, like, method for discovering the truth?
Right.
Like, come on.
Well, it just is odd that they're. I mean, like, I watched like I said, I watched the documentaries about porn or whatever because I'm like, are they gonna find something that I didn't already guess? And they never do. You know what I mean? Like, they never say, oh, well, actually, women who become porn stars have these different kind of brains. And it's like, it's never that. It's just like, they just have fucked up lives and fucked up relationships about at the same rate, maybe slightly worse or slightly, the same as everybody else. Like,
yeah, not to say that everybody in porn is fucked up.
No, I didn't mean to say that. I just meant, like, the fucked upness is the same as the general population, it seems.
Right. Yeah, so, because actually, like, from what I've read and seen over the years, not porn, like, actual, other places, like, porn stars can be well-adjusted, like, normal, happy people where nothing bad happened to them, and they just decided that they wanted to be in porn. So, now, on the other hand, you certainly can find some examples in porn in the other direction.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Like, it wouldn't take much effort to convince me of that truth.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just seems, plausible. So, but this is one of those areas where, like I obviously am very pro-porn, and there are a lot of people out there right now who are anti-porn, and their arguments usually revolve around, like, it's because of dysfunction and damage and all that sort of negative stuff. And, I think that those arguments suck, and that they're not accurate, and they're dishonest, and they're misleading. And, if you know better, like I do, I think it's irritating, So if you're a porn star out there and you're well-adjusted and happy, write in. I'd be curious to hear about your story. And
yeah, I mean, we'll try to integrate you into the show somehow. We'll have a weekly segment.
We'll make you into an honorary bad guy. I couldn't think of a better example of what the kind of bad guy we're talking about than a well-adjusted porn star.
If you're trying to figure out what we mean by that, that's exactly it.
So, but where were you headed before I derailed you yet again?
Oh shit, I don't know. I guess I'm just sort of stuck in that gear where I'm fascinated by the fact that other people are fascinated by these things. I just sort of take them for granted, and if people have something new to bring to the table, I'd like to hear it. But when it comes to Americans' fascination with nudity, pornography, certain body parts, etc., I just take it as a given, because anything that you make seem like it has magical properties is obviously going to be something that, people are fucking fascinated by.
Yeah.
So, keep making the documentaries, I guess, because, idiots like me keep watching them going, oh, they got something new to say? No, they don't. Like, it's the same old shit. I just don't get it. I mean, I guess it's a big part of people's lives, but goddamn, I don't know. I just wish they'd have some original shit to say.
Yeah, well, I suppose a Netflix documentary isn't really the best place to go if the truth is what you're really into and real insight.
Oh, they put some good documentaries up on Netflix.
Yeah, they're mixed in. They're mixed in there with all the shit. But
true, yeah.
That's the thing is...
Well, like anything else, you gotta rummage through the crap.
Yeah. And, plus, like, you can never really tell by the cover or the description what you're going to get. So, and it's neat to try shit, but I sort of think that if there's some new revelation about porn or whatever, like, I'll hear about it through the many other circles and sources I'm involved in, and it won't be because of some, like, what popped up in my new to Netflix, column in Netflix. So,
like, what would actually be interesting is, they do all these studies where they have, subjects look at porn and measure their sexual response to it. What would be interesting is make porn stars watch porn and measure their sexual response to it. That would be intriguing. Just to see the results, no matter what they were.
I wonder, like, part of me would say, like, you'd get the response of a corpse. And then the other part of me, like, if it's true that porn stars are in porn because they like sex a lot more than other people, then they'll have a high response because they like sex a lot more than other people.
Right.
And watching sex will still turn them on, even though it's, like, what they do all day.
Or what would intrigue me is if they just have more overt control over, like, how horny they are. That would be intriguing, because I don't feel like I do have control over that.
Well, I've heard that a lot of them just rub lidocaine on themselves, and it sort of, allows them to, like, limit themselves.
Oh, I wasn't going that direction with it.
But if that's true, if they have to rub lidocaine on themselves, then it tells me that they don't have a mental sort of mechanism that allows them to control things.
Yeah. That's true.
They have to rub lidocaine on their junk in order to keep that shit under control.
They have to apply Mandalay. One of my favorite drugstore products I ever discovered.
Well, women do it too. Like, I've heard that female porn stars, like, they will also numb themselves down a little bit if they're just too excited, and that's just the way they're wired. So if that's the case, then maybe they really do like sex more than the typical
more than the average bear.
Yeah. So research, I think, will always be ongoing. It's
a good point. It should always be ongoing.
And I, for one, champion that cause. So
more funding, god damn it.
Yeah.
Open the floodgates.
Well, plus another thing that I think is interesting along those lines is the giant number of, like, amateur videos that are submitted now to these various porn sites. Like, apparently there are lots and lots of amateurs. It's not just like a select few people that decide to get into porn. What it was the industry and the technology was the limiting factor in the old days. But it turns out, apparently there are a lot of people out there, just regular jack-offs, who are really
no
interested.
pun intended.
Yeah,
right.
That's the word I use, just the term. Who are really into being into porn and in porn themselves. They just never had the opportunity until the internet came along.
And plenty of people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, like the various sites like YouPorn or RedTube or Pornhub or like whatever the fuck else. There's like a million.
Any porn version of YouTube.
Yeah, they're all basically just trying to be YouTube, but dirty. Like there's just tons and tons of amateur submissions on there, and it makes me wonder what the average person out there, what the population is like, really. Like, in my mind at least, I sort of thought a long time ago anyway that like most people were not interested in being in porns and like weren't that much of exhibitionists and along those lines. But it turns out, like, after seeing all these amateurs, like it's a large segment of the population, which I think is really interesting.
Well, it's sort of, I guess really if I sort of pause and try to consider it, it just sort of goes with, not to be trite or simplistic, but it goes with a lot of these other analyses that seem to pop up in the era of social media and just the propagation of, the internet and its availability.
Mm-hmm.
Is people, I'm always shocked by the amount of shit some people will put up on Facebook or any of those sites, sort of telling everybody everywhere they go, everybody they hang out with, all the shit they do. It doesn't surprise me that, there's also going to be that same percentage of people who are like, I wanted people to watch videos of me having sex, and now, ta-da, there are places for that to happen.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, well, another thing I noticed too is a couple times I've seen amateur videos that were old, like, videotapes converted over
Nice.
It's like that shitty camcorder date stamp from the 80s. So somebody was holding on to that shit for a long time.
They were committed, yeah.
Waiting for the internet to come around.
Before that, they just had to invite people over for a party and accidentally leave it in the VCR.
Yeah.
Oops, oh my gosh. How do I turn this off?
Yeah, sort of like coming out of the shower and like pretending like you didn't know anybody was there.
Right.
Same kind of thing. So, no, not that I...
Not that, yeah, of course. Yeah. Not that I have ever done that.
Yeah. So yet again, our conversation has revolved around until we got to porn.
Did we do this before?
Yeah, we do this pretty much every time we get together, whether we're making a recording or not.
I guess that maybe is then why it happens, because, whether or not we're recording, that's a different story. But
I mean, I'm not complaining or anything.
Nor am I. I just... That reveals something to me about my brain, because I just don't remember.
I mean, I, for one, welcome our new porn overlords.
I do wonder what the actual estimates of how much that industry nets, because people refer to it as, or people refer to how much it makes in comparison with Hollywood, and I really do wonder how much it makes.
Well, from what I've been hearing lately, like, with all the free shit out there, like, I think they're not making as much as they used to a few years ago. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I'm like, maybe just regular exhibitionists will sort of ruin it for the porn industry until
that would be interesting.
It's nothing but just amateur videos out there because people do it for the art of it, like the art of the topless, instead of for the the money in the industry. Well,
shit'll get real when just like the MPAA went after people downloading. Regular Hollywood movies. If porn companies start getting together and attacking like ISPs or anything like that for allowing porn to be downloaded illegally, that'll be intense.
Oh, that's right. You were talking about the hilarious scenario of the reading off in court.
Right, all the titles. Yeah. That's right. All the different titles that Lovely Latinas 8.
In every one of these, you touched on something I was just going to say, is they all end in a high number.
Well, yeah.
Every fucking thing anymore. It's like Giant Jug Shakers number 32. Like, there's like sequels getting up into the 30s and 40s now. It's just ridiculous.
Well, it's really frustrating if you're big on continuity.
Yeah.
Because all the hours you're going to have to log.
Yeah, and if there's one thing I insist upon, it's porn continuity.
Yeah, I mean, some of the departures, once you start getting up to the 7, 8s, 9s, they just go off in all these different directions. It's like, what the fuck? You gotta keep up with this shit. There needs to be... Oh, well, actually, I looked into this. There is a Netflix of porn.
Is George Lucas secretly behind all this? There's a Netflix of porn.
Yeah. No, wait, the George Lucas thing, that would be hilarious if somebody started a porn series at episode 4. But yeah, there is a Netflix of porn, and now I'm totally fucking blanking on what it is. But if you Google the Netflix of porn, I'm pretty sure it comes up.
Can you get it like through your Wii? No pun intended.
I don't know if they do streaming, no pun intended. But they at least do the mail service. And they
no pun intended.
Son of a bitch.
No pun intended.
You're killing me.
The Netflix support. See, now, if that was available through something like the Nintendo Wii or the Xbox 360, because we're not playing favorites unless we get paid, in which case we'll play the fuck out of favorites.
True. It could be the end of human civilization.
Yeah, the level of convenience, and just sitting there and the big screen instead of the laptop screen and the whole thing, and it's all there for free. Like, we have it all now, but in increments in different places. You have free porn, but it's usually on a shitty little screen, or you have to buy it on a DVD or something, but then you can see it on a big screen.
Right.
So, and even if you attach a laptop to your TV like I've done, you still get that shitty signal and it doesn't look very good. So someday, we can hope. We can dream.
I was kind of disappointed when I found out that it existed, because me and my brother have been batting around the idea of a Netflix of porn, and we would call it Netfucks.
Netfucks.
And set that up.